Guys, it's time for a challenge. You've all heard about the 100 heads challenge, right? Well, I'm doing a 100 portraits challenge, which is basically the same thing but like different hashtags. So, I drew 5 portraits in the past few weeks, and while I show you the process of these paintings, let's talk about why practice is more important than talent. Look, guys, drawing is a skill you can develop with time. It's never really about talent. I mean, yes, some people are more perceptive to their environment and that helps them, but even those 1% of people didn't come out of the womb pulling a Picasso. Okay? Think of drawing like a workout. You should first develop the mind muscle connection to draw a circle or a cube. And guess what will help you get that mind muscle connection? Yup, you guessed right. It's practice. Even if you draw one circle every day, by the seventh day, you'd be able to draw the perfect circle. You'd become a circle master. The more you practice, the better you become at identifying things like general shape language, line variety, color schemes, lighting, and perspectives. And these are the things that make a good art a great piece of art. There is no real shortcut. I'm pretty confident that you have ample creativity inside that little head of yours. You just don't know how to transfer it into a canvas. I know a lot of people argue that you need to be super creative and all that to be a good artist, and while I do agree that being an artist does require a certain amount of imagination, I also believe that creativity exists in us all. The way you visualize an apple is not the same way the person next to you will think about it. When I say apple, I am thinking of a red fruit. Your bro is thinking of a green fruit, and your other bro is thinking of a smartphone. So you see, it doesn't matter. What an artist needs to do is to be able to transfer what they think onto the goddamn canvas. And after you've done that, you'd find 10 people interpreting it in 10 different ways. While I started this challenge, I decided that I'm going to treat it as an opportunity to practice. Drawing 100 portraits sounds exhausting, doesn't it? But if I keep drawing portraits over and over again, I will be able to learn different shapes of the face, how light interacts with the planes of the head, and does the nostril look bigger or smaller when the head is tilted upward. It's all going to be stored inside my visual library, and one day I will be able to draw from my imagination from start to finish. But to get there, I need to start here. And I encourage everyone who wants to be an artist to start drawing, even if it is bad and disproportionate. You cannot learn until you do it, right? Alright, folks, we're on to day 2. By the way, all the references for these portraits were taken from Pinterest. Speaking of which, why is Pinterest filled with AI images? Don't follow AI images, guys. At least try drawing from real life references first, or even you can try drawing simplified versions of previous sketches that are not from AI. I know in Pinterest, if you type in dynamic poses, planes of the head, you will find really good frameworks. And there are still some good resources left in this world, even if AI is taken over. When practicing using real life references, try to draw as close to the reference image as possible, but don't stress yourself out because it's not an exact copy of your reference. You use the reference as a guideline, not as a strict framework. You're not a camera, you're an artist. Unless you want to follow the hyperrealism style in your drawings, which is a stylistic choice and a personal preference, you don't need to be so hard on yourself. Remember, children, you first need to practice the general shapes of the head. And now that I'm doing this challenge, I hope you will join me too. And if you do, let me know in the comments. Or follow my Instagram, which is doodling_grandmommy, and tag me your drawings or DM me. Now, I have to admit that day 2 somehow seemed harder than day 1 and all the other days that followed because the reference I chose had a dim lighting, and while it looks mysterious and artistic in the photograph, it looked pretty dull on the canvas. So, learning to choose good references is also important for a good practice. to find references that have clear light and shadow distinction. That way, it would be easier for you to render it. If you take a reference which is completely dark, it's bound to look muddy when you blend in the colors. The more dynamic the lighting situation is, the better your drawings will look. And don't let anybody tell you that it is cheating to use references. Everyone uses them. Even the great art masters used to have real life models sit in front of them for days when they painted. Thank God we have the internet now and we can find references in a second. Use your resources as much as possible. It is smarter to use references and actually enrich your mental library than struggle to draw noses from memory that end up looking like literal arrows. Practice doesn't have to be this lengthy, exhausting process if you have a clear goal in mind. Look at me practicing portraits with this challenge. Don't I know how to do it? Of course I do. You can just scroll down to my previous videos, which proves that I do. But it's about getting better and faster at it. Wouldn't it be cool if you could draw as fast as Sam does art without compromising on the quality of your arts? Let's be real, he's been drawing characters for decades. That's a decade of practice. Of course, he's an inspiring artist now, one of the biggest names. And you can be that too. On day 3 already, folks, and I am drawing an Indian bride. At this point, everyone knows how much I enjoy drawing jewelry. So, needless to say, I enjoy drawing this one the most because I could add so many accessories on her. The color scheme for this portrait is also excellent to practice brown skin tones, which brings me to my next point, which is do not limit yourself when you are practicing. Try to draw different things and train your mind to identify how different shapes interact with each other, how two different colors look side by side. Drawing a variety of characters with different facial features, hairstyles, and skin tones will help you avoid catching the infamous same face syndrome. And it is like an art epidemic nowadays. People justify it saying that it is their art style, but really, you can stylize different types of characters too. Practice drawing wrinkles or baby cheeks. Not only will it help you gain ideas about how human faces are structured, but also help you create characters of your own. You can stylize your characters based on real life references by exaggerating a feature or understating them. Okay, this is where I shone. The flowers in her hair, oh my god, I loved how it turned out. It enhanced the drawing instantly. I think this is the first time I drew an Indian bride or any Indian character really. Shame on me for not representing my own culture. So, I plan to include portraits from different cultures into this challenge. I mean, I have 100 portraits, right? So, without variety, I will probably burn out. And if you're also doing this challenge with me, or the 100 heads challenge, which is almost the same, I hope you include drawings from different nations and cultures too. If you make the process of practice fun, it becomes easier for your mind to stay focused. Drawing takes up a lot of time and effort. These drawings are sped up to 50% or more, but in reality, each has taken me about 3 to 4 hours, so if you don't make it enjoyable at first, you'd probably not be able to finish it. When I thought that day 3 was my best work, I was wrong. Because day 4 portrait is now my favorite. And I was a little nervous about drawing the side profile because I am not 100% confident with side profiles yet. Yes, I can draw it pretty decently, but I'm much more comfortable drawing the quarter view, which was probably why I was extremely mindful when doing this one. And then the color scheme matched perfectly with the open sky, sunny day vibe I was going for. As you have already noticed, I am giving each of my portraits an environment. The first one was among trees in daylight, the second one was inside a dimly lit room, the third one was on a balcony during sunset, and this one under the open sky in broad daylight. This is why I am really able to get the lighting right. Getting the lighting right is so important whenever you are drawing a character. I encourage all of you to draw small backgrounds when you are drawing characters, especially if you are doing color studies, then the environment becomes such a big part of the coloring process. For example, this one has a distinct bluish undertone where her shadows are, which is the reflected light from the blue sky. Yet, the rest of her face is bathed in a very saturated yellowish light because the sunlight is reflecting off of her white shirt and directly hitting the lower part of her face. You need to be observant of these things to know where to use which color. And the more you study from real life references, the easier it becomes to identify where the cool tones are and where the warm tones are. It is really about understanding how one type of color interacts with another. If you don't do mindful studies, you'll be stuck with a drawing that doesn't look realistic. And when I say realistic, I don't mean realism. No, I mean that you can draw stylized anime characters, but if you mess up the lighting, it's not going to look good. Your character does not need to be realistic, but it needs to look like it belongs within its environment, which is why you should not draw orange light on a character who is inside a forest at night.
Help me! Help me!
On day 5, and kinda wished that I could paint faster. What do you mean I still have 95 portraits to paint after this? Anyways, with no help coming my way, no art gods listening to my prayers, I started this portrait. I am drawing a portrait from this angle probably for the first time. Not only did I learn that your jawline creates a triangle if you tilt your head up like that, but I also got to know that necks can seem so much longer when stretched like this. Not gonna lie, when I first started rendering, I thought I messed this up because the swan neck looked like a giraffe neck, but turns out I was just impatient, and after adding the collar of a dress and the choker, it looked good. And you know what? It's absolutely okay to doubt yourself. That's why you gotta keep practicing because it's going to build your confidence. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, it is better if you make mistakes but be mindful enough to learn from them. If you think you cannot draw because your practice pieces don't always come out looking top tier, then that's fine. Turn the page and do it again. It's not because you are lacking in talent, but because you lacked skills. Skill issues in art are real, so sharpen your skills. That's all you need to do. And with this, we end our first week. And yes, my week consists of 5 days because I like balance in my life. Anyways, enjoy the montage. And if you want to keep watching this series, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.